coming your way with my brief review of the most recent computer animated half-hour short film adaptation of the Julia Donaldson, Axel Scheffler children's picture book of the same name, The Highway Rat, which was initially broadcast on BBC One on Christmas Day 2017, was produced by Magic Light Pictures, the same animation studio that gave us The Gruffalo in 2009, The Gruffalo's Child in 2011, Room on the Broom in 2012, Stickman in 2015, and Revolting Rhymes in 2016. That I haven't actually watched yet, and will get round to hopefully reviewing at some point in the near future, was initially written as a parody of the Alfred Noyes poem The Highwayman, was narrated by Rob Brydon, features the voice talents of my all-time favourite Doctor David Tennant, Tom Hollander, Francis Della Tour, and Nina Sosanya, and tells the sweet and simple story of a selfish and greedy rodent who disguises himself as an old-fashioned masked and caped bandit in the vein of Poldark or Zorro, mounts a brown chestnut horse, and proceeds to bully various animals along the highway by stealing all of their food, such as pastries, puddings, chocolates, and cakes, at sword point for himself, only to then get his eventual comeuppance thanks to his sweet tooth. So, what are my brief thoughts on The Highway Rat? Well, I honestly don't really have an awful lot of things to say about it other than, likewise with the other 4 Julia Donaldson animated short film adaptations I have already reviewed on the channel in the recent past, back to back to back to back, which I will very kindly leave a link to in the description below for anyone who wants to go check that out. I may not have read the original picture book this short film was based on as a kid, nor have I read it so far as a young adult. And while I don't think it is quite as perfect as it probably had the potential to be, I still thought it was yet another pretty decent, well-paced, for 1/2 hour anyway, solid little effort from Magic Light Pictures. The story does retain the repetitive rhyming structure in terms of dialogue from the original picture book, and it does occasionally tend to be a teensy tiny bit simplistic, basic, episodic, and predictable, especially in the first half. I mean, after all, when you honestly think about it, the book was obviously written this way to appease a very young target audience, namely children. But at the same time, never once did I feel like there was any real filler because of how much of a certain sweetness and charm there is to it. Renee Aubrey's score to this short is, as always, wonderful and lovely. The stop-motion computer animation is lovely as always and beautifully brings Axel Scheffler's colourful illustrations from the book vividly to life on the small screen in a way that never feels too showy or phony or like the animators are doing it just because they can. And also, a bit like Zootopia before it, helps to build an anthropomorphic world that feels fully dimensional, lived in, and believable. With the use of practical handmade sets, somewhat almost similar to their work on the first Gruffalo film, as well as add little flourishes and tweaks to not only exaggerate the animal characters' expressions to make them look vivid enough for very small kids to read and understand, but also to make these characters feel and act much more human than animalistic. Rob Brydon's narration for this short was excellent, and the rest of the voice cast, including Francis de la Tour as the rabbit, Tom Hollander as the squirrel, and Nina Sosanya as the duck, all do an equally superb job bringing their charming and delightful characters to life. But the standout vocal performance of the bunch is, of course, from David freaking Tennant, who definitely sounds like he's having a ball here, voicing the titular character, who in a way becomes almost like the Grinch or Ebenezer Scrooge of this short film, in the sense that he starts out as a greedy little arsehole who is predisposed to steal food for himself from the other animals without caring about how his selfish actions are hurting them. But instead of being haunted by 4 ghosts or having his heart grow 3 sizes, the duck gives him a taste of his own medicine by deliberately luring him into the cave and essentially leaving him to become thinner and starve to death, thus forcing him to realise the error of his ways after falling face first into a dirty puddle, cast off his facade for good, save a pair of fireflies from being eaten in exchange for them letting him out of the cave, and start becoming a better rat, sweeping the floors of a cake shop. In conclusion, while I wouldn't quite go as far as to call it a perfect masterpiece of animation like a Mickey's Christmas Carol or The Snowman or even a Wallace and Gromit, because I guess it's not really trying to be one, and it was just clearly made as a nice little distraction to entertain young kids around the Christmas holidays last year. And while it may not quite match or top the greatness of any of the 2 Gruffalo shorts, but is a bit of a major improvement, in my opinion, over Room on the Broom, and especially Stickman, I still quite liked The Highway Rat. Like I said before, it is yet another cute, charming, decent, fun, entertaining and solid addition to the quite impressive Julia Donaldson animated short film canon that Magic Light Pictures have sort of formulated for themselves almost every Christmas in recent years, ever since they brought the Gruffalo to life nearly a decade ago. And I honestly cannot wait to see what Julia Donaldson story they're going to adapt next. It is decently paced, has a charming, if not teensy tiny bit predictable story that obviously makes no secret of treating the source material with the respect, love and care that it deserves, whilst at the same time not being too afraid to visually expand on it and take minor but satisfying risks to fit the half-hour runtime in ways that even I didn't expect it to go. Especially the sweet moment at the end when we actually get to see the duck come into the cake shop and have her own moment of reconciliation with the newly redeemed rat, as well as the surprise twist that the narrator of the story is actually the highway rat's own horse. Beautifully rendered stop-motion computer animation, another top-notch and lovely score to listen to from Renee Aubrey, charming and endearing characters, charming moments, including a swashbuckling encounter with a swarm of bees, a surprisingly good and very relevant moral lesson about bullying, selfishness and greed that magically befits the message of Christmas for its target audience in a way that doesn't feel too preachy or condescending, doesn't talk down to them, and doesn't feel like it's being shoved down their throats. Humour that is charming enough without quite making you roll down the aisles with laughter. Excellent narration from Rob Brydon and a stellar voice cast across the board, especially David Tennant. Plus it features a Pixar-style Easter egg / cameo from none other than the freaking Gruffalo in the shape of a gingerbread biscuit at the end that made me feel briefly giddy with nostalgia. I would most definitely recommend that you go and check this animated short film out if you've got younger kids or siblings of your own, and or just want to keep them entertained for half an hour. If you've read the original picture book and want to see almost an animated recreation of the illustrations within that original picture book come to life on the small screen through the medium of Aardman-esque stop-motion computer animation, or if you're someone who is familiar with or has seen the other 4 Julia Donaldson animated short film adaptations. And my overall rating for The Highway Rat is going to be a near perfect 8.5 out of 10. Now, feel free to leave a comment in the section below, and please let me know your individual thoughts on The Highway Rat, as well as let me know what your favourite computer animated Julia Donaldson short film adaptation is of the 5 that have been made so far since 2009, namely this, Stickman, Room on the Broom, The Gruffalo, and The Gruffalo's Child. Plus, feel free to subscribe to my channel as always, as well as go to my channel page and click on the little bell so that you get all of the notifications and updates from my channel via email. And also, if you haven't already, please don't forget to join my Facebook group page, as well as follow me on Twitter and Instagram. And until my next video, which is going to be a special brief back-to-back review of Peter Pan Goes Wrong and A Christmas Carol Goes Wrong, do take care, everyone, and goodbye.